Okay, so this week I am here to talk about training sessions with your dog, which sounds like training should be a really formal, structured thing, but it really doesn't need to be. A training session can be the 2 minutes it takes while you're waiting for your kettle to boil. It can be while you're waiting for the toast to pop. It can be 10 minutes before your favorite show starts on TV, while you're waiting for the bathroom to be free. It can be any window of time, even if that is literally just 3 minutes that you have spare, that you have time to kill, that you're in a good mood, and that you want to spend with your dog. So let's just get straight into it. Here are my 5 top tips for making sure your training sessions are a success for you and for your dog. Okay, so number 1 is literally keep it short, keep it simple, keep it fun. So a training session, as I said at the beginning, it can be 3 minutes. It can be while the kettle boils. It doesn't need to be a whole planned out lesson. You don't need to say, okay, I've got 30 minutes. We're going to work through this whole routine, or we're going to focus on this one trick and we're going to keep going for that whole 30 minutes. Even if it gets frustrating, even if I'm not enjoying it, we're doing the whole lesson. It can literally be 2 minutes. So keep it short, keep it simple, and keep it fun. If you're not having fun, ultimately you and your dog are not going to want to keep coming back together and doing this thing because it's stressful, it's not enjoyable, and everybody ends up just getting aggy with each other. So keep it fun. And the best way to keep it fun is to end on a high. And if that means you run through a trick 3, 4, 5 times and then you're done, then you're done. That's fine. Okay, so my next top tip is to integrate your training sessions with your daily life. So what we do in our house, because we ditch the food bowl, which means that my Labrador eats her food throughout the day through a series of enriching activities, such as scatter feeding, filled kongs, licky mats, all that jazz. And training is one of those enriching activities. So we will weigh out her daily food at the beginning of the day so that we know that she's not being overfed. There's no worries about it being unhealthy or about her gaining weight because she's getting too many treats through training. And we will apportion a certain amount of her food. This is literally just her daily kibble. She will work for this. Dogs are contra freeloading, so they are happier to work and earn food than they are just having it put out on a plate. So she will happily train for her daily food. So we will weigh out the amount, we will apportion a few treat pots, and then we will literally just leave them in rooms around the house. So there's one of these in the lounge. There'll be one of these on the windowsill here, so that if we want to do any training outside in the garden, I can literally just pick it up and go. It's ready. I don't have to do any prep for this training session because it's already done. So I don't have any excuses, even if I'm feeling like I can't really be bothered. And say you have one in the kitchen, like I said at the beginning of the video, if you're waiting for the kettle to boil and you think, actually, we could just spend a couple of minutes doing leg weaves here if you're into trick training, if that's what you're working on. Your treats are ready to go. It's integrated in your daily life. It's taking no time away from your schedule or from anything you need to do. And it's easy. And when it's easy, you're going to do a lot more of it. And when you do a lot more of it, that's when you're going to see the results. Okay, speaking of results, if you want to see results, if you want to take your training seriously, then I will always say to people, make a plan. Because if you don't have a plan, if you don't have an end goal of where you want to get with this, what you want to achieve, whether that's I'm trick training and I want a dog that can do these 10 tricks within the next few months because there's a show coming up, or because I have people coming around and I want to show off, or just because I know it's really enriching for my dog to learn those things. Alternatively, if there is a problem behavior that you're really working on, like perhaps your dog has really bad manners around the front door, and your end goal is that you can have people come to your house, you can have the doorbell ring, you can take deliveries, and you can have guests, and your dog is going to be calm and non-reactive and well-behaved in that situation. Now, none of these things can be achieved overnight, but they can be achieved. The problem is people will give up because they haven't committed to a long-term plan. So obviously, this is kind of our thing. We help you plan for success, which is why we have a range of planners. So this is the newest one. This is the digital planner, which is available on the website. And this will take you through literally everything. So you can set goals, you can set your weekly focus, you can look at how you are feeding, if you are ditching the bowl, you can track your exercise, you can track all of your training sessions, concept training, so you can track the games and things you're doing, You can celebrate your wins. Now that is something I really advocate for, okay? A lot of people can get hung up on the things that aren't going well, the things that their dog is struggling to pick up or that they're just not achieving. I really encourage you, even if you just do this yourself, even if you just keep post-it notes, I really encourage you to make a note of the successes and the wins and the wow moments when your dog just gets something, or when their behavior impresses you. Even if you're out on a walk and you're like, oh my gosh, we walked past another dog and they didn't even bark, they just made eye contact with me. That's a massive achievement if you are working on reactivity. So write it down and track it, because then, you know, when you come to the times when you are struggling with their behavior and you're feeling a bit low, you have a document you can look back on and say, actually, do you know what? We are doing really well. We have so many successes, and these just prove to me that we can get there. We just have to keep going. So I'm a fan of just doing it digitally because, you know, I don't need to print anything out. I can just reuse the same file over and over again. So, you know, like year after year, or if you want to do an 8-week trick training plan, you can fill it in and then you can reuse it again. If you are a fan of old school physical stationery, we have those as well. Like, we have a full range. There's a load of colors you can choose from. Yeah, I'm a big advocate of planning for success. So yeah, that's that tip, is make a plan and stick to the plan. Okay, so finally, I will end this video the way I will end a training session, which is you need to deactivate your dog at the end of a training session so that you don't find that they are following you around, kind of thinking, okay, are we still training? Is this part of it? Do I still need to be giving you my focus? Are you still engaging with me? You might find that if you don't end a training session for your dog officially, as it were, that they can sort of not really switch off, or it can take them a long time to come down and to lower their arousal and to take themselves away to rest, which they need to do after they've been working. So I would recommend that you end your training session with like a self-calming activity. So it could be that you take a handful of their kibble and you go and scatter it out on the lawn. So then the training session is ended, they're moving away from you, and they're going to spend a good 5 minutes sniffing and foraging and self-rewarding in the garden and just kind of coming down from an active learning state. Other things that you can give your dog are licky mats. I really like licky mats because you can fill them with all kinds of things. It doesn't need to be anything unhealthy. There's so many healthy recipes and things. If you look online, you'll find so much information. And then you can freeze them. So they can be a really long-lasting source of entertainment and soothing for your dog, because licking is obviously a self-soothing behavior. In the same vein, you can fill Kongs. If your dog enjoys working with a stuffed Kong, you can fill those for a little bit of longevity and extra challenge. You can freeze those too. But yeah, it's a really good idea to kind of end training and disengage your dog from learning and engage them in a calming activity, just to bring them down, to lower the arousal, and to encourage them to transition from a training session to rest. So to recap, my 5 top tips for awesome training sessions with your dog. So number 1 is keep your sessions short and fun. You don't need to get stressed. It doesn't need to be a half an hour training lesson. Okay, it can be 2 minutes. That's all it takes to engage your dog, to enjoy your dog, and to teach your dog something new. Number 2, integrate your training with daily life. If you want to make something a habit, you need to attach it to other things that are already habits. So boiling the kettle to make a cup of tea, waiting for the bathroom to be free, cooking your dinner, all of these little snippets of time that you have in your day every day, turn them into training sessions. Make it even easier for yourself by pre-prepping little treat pots and leaving them around the house so that you have no excuse not to spend 5 minutes working with your dog. Number 3, make a plan for success, okay? If we fail to plan, we plan to fail. Somebody said, I can't remember who. I'm a big advocate of planning, of setting goals, of tracking your successes, so you can celebrate them. So obviously we sell an awesome range of dog training planners. If you don't know where to start, they're full of games, they're full of exercises, they will literally walk you through the whole process. If you do know where to start and you want to wing this by yourself, grab yourself a plain lined notebook, jot down the things you want to achieve and work through them, and be sure to leave a page or a dedicated section for marking all of your successes. Number 4, punctuate your training sessions with play or end them with play. So be aware of your dog's favorite, most enjoyable games and activities, and be sure to integrate them in your training sessions to help him process and to make sure it's always an enjoyable activity for both of you. And finally, number 5, always end your session clearly for your dog. So mark the fact that the learning has stopped. He's free to disengage from you by scatter feeding him in the garden, providing him with a licky mat, giving him a frozen Kong, and making a clear transition from working to resting. So that's it for this week. I hope you've enjoyed this video on how to have an awesome training session with your dog. If you want to check out any of our planners, they are all on the website at listendogtraining.com. If you are feeling inspired and motivated, then why not go and give your dog 3 minutes of training right now? I'll see you next week.